Did you miss the? I told you we talked about this. He didn't push the button, so now everybody's looking at going, what's going on here? See, new radio station in a new location and buttons in a new spot. So first mistake happened right out the gate. So now everybody can see us that's actually looking to see us live. Mark? No, you're supposed to not make any mistakes over on that side of the glass. Anyway, so, really appreciate everybody listening. It's great to get a lot of the feedback that we've got over the last, obviously, almost 12 months now that we've been running the show. And, the last show that we did, sorry for missing last week. I had to fly to Kentucky. I had to put on a really, really good program out there for the Amazon workers in the KCVG space. That's the air hub around Cincinnati and Louisville, Kentucky. And thousands of workers are mobilizing out there. And we had a team of workers out, a team of our team out there helping them workers along. So last show that we did live, we had Taylor and Kevin Lomason from TK Avenue. Didn't they do a great job? It's funny, Taylor was so nervous about coming on the show, and she came across so well talking about all the bags. And, they talked about Loungefly bags, and I've still been kidding everybody that I always thought a Loungefly was somebody at a bar. I didn't, the guy hangs out of the bar too much. Isn't that a Loungefly? I didn't realize it was actually an article of clothing. It's actually a purse, and it's a pretty famous one, by the way, because I got corrected real fast as soon as I started making jokes. So Taylor and Kevin, if you all are listening, really appreciate you guys did a great job on the show. We also had Redlands School Board candidates Alex Vera and Melissa Ayala Quintero. They talked about their campaigns, what they're doing in and around Redlands, and what they're doing regarding the school board elections that obviously everybody's going to be listening to here. Everybody's going to be, they've either voted absentee or they're going to be voting here in the next few days, and that'll be wrapping up next Tuesday. We also had Lisa Middleton on. She's a candidate for State Senate District 19. And then we had Danielle Hawley on, the executive director of the Fontana Chamber of Commerce and candidate for Fontana School Board. Danielle, obviously from Fontana, many of you listened, I grew up in Fontana, so we were able to riff off of all these commonalities that we had in the city of Fontana. And then obviously after the show wrapped up, we talked about, shared some funny stories. And the cool thing is that Danielle said that she's going to bring us on the podcast there for the Fontana Chamber. Really looking forward to that. And especially the town I grew up in and spent most of my adolescence, in many ways I like to say my irresponsible adolescence. But with that, we really appreciate all those guests from the last show. Again, a lot of great comments. And the next part of our show is live shout-outs. So the first live shout-out I want to do is I want to give a shout-out to the supervisor at 7-Up in Riverside, because John Havenair, here's got a round of applause. Apparently, he hooked it up to where this show is live streaming into the warehouse for all of our members at that facility. So, John, our members really appreciate it. The shop steward picked up the phone, gave me a call, and asked if we could do a live shout-out. I said, we'll do you one better. We'll actually put you at the front of the live shout-outs so that all of our members inside the studio and all of you that working in that warehouse that I know, I'm not really hearing from you, but hopefully you enjoy the show. Love all of you for all the work that you do. It's hard work that you're doing inside those operations every single day. Keep up the hard work. And we love how proud you are to be Teamsters there at the 7-Up facility there in Riverside. So I also want to do a live shout out for Desert Water Agency, who is actually voting as we speak right now. Desert Water Agency is voting on a merger agreement. I know we reported a couple months ago that they had voted to affiliate. That was the first step of their process. This is the final step of their process. Today they'll be merging their association into the Teamsters and dissolving their association if it's approved, along with the merger agreement being approved. Today we'll count those ballots at 6:30 today. And so we also have Chino Valley Fire District team listening in live. We have Nadal Rafidi from ARMC listening in live. We have Tad from the city of we have the Rialto Tad listening in live. Sunline Transit out in the desert listening in live. Sherry, Kurt Garrison, and Susan Lofton listening in live. Jason Nugent. And again, I'm going to get Susan on this show at some point. I know I keep needling her from she is coming on? All right, thanks for letting me know. Jason Nugent, Ivan Cruz, Tina Morgan, and they're all at the Redlands TAD. Chaz Kelly, I actually gave Chaz Kelly a Member Power Award last night at the membership meeting at the West Side Clinic, listening in live. Teresa Preciado, listening in live. Angie and the Nutritional Services Department is listening in live. We have Justin Carrasco at ARMC Security. VO's on the Amazon campaign, listening in live. Natasha Rodriguez at ARMC. Natalie Hart, Sherry, Barbara for hosting a trunk or treat at the annual Needles event that's happening. I think it's today or tomorrow. Is it today? It's tomorrow. Also, Jenny Hernandez from Public Health. Actually saw her last night at the membership meeting. Great to see you, Jenny. Good to see that you're listening in live. Sheila Muir, just retired, by the way. Congratulations on your retirement. I believe she's literally pulling the plug any day now. Steve Thompson, steward at the CEU unit, and Beatrice Gomez, steward at PSD Mills Center site. So those are our live shout-outs. Next part of our show is the one that everybody seems to like more than any other. It's the unique jobs that Teamsters do. And this time of the year, I think the first thing you got to point out is Altadena Eggnog. Members of Teamsters Local 630, they actually make the Altadena Eggnog. And so any of you that are drinking eggnog over the next couple months, think of Teamster. Make sure you think of Teamster. And then tomorrow, candy. All this candy is going to be handed out. Happy Halloween to everybody. Hopefully you scare the pants off of a lot of people in a positive way, and everybody has a great time with that holiday. It's always fun to see the kids running around. I know in my neighborhood we get over 1,000 kids every single year. I'm not exaggerating. It is crazy. It's insane. And it costs a lot of money for all of, yeah, there you go. That's an appropriate song. And my favorite band, by the way. My favorite band. Halloween candy made by Teamsters. Dum Dums, Local 20. Teamsters at Local 20 make Dum Dums. The 1,000 Grand Bar is made by Local 200, members at Local 200. Pez candies are made by members of Local 443. And Laffy Taffy is made by members of Local 26. And so big shout out to all of them. Think about them tomorrow when you're getting all of your candy. The other thing coming up that are made by union members, not necessarily Teamsters, they're distributed by some Teamsters, processed by some UFCW workers. So a part of it is Butterball turkey. So as you think about the holiday season coming up and you're looking at your turkey, just understand that UFCW workers as well as Teamsters are preparing and packaging those items that are out there. And so I'm not going to do the news. At this point, I'm going to do the news later, but I want to touch on something that let me remind you, this is Randy Corrigan and the Worker Power Hour with the Teamsters 1932 Radio Network. I'm excited about that. It's cool that we're on multiple stations now, and it's cool that the listenership is growing. We're having a ton of fun with this, and as a longtime organizer and a first-time radio host, I am a little excited about doing this, and I really appreciate all the positive feedback from those that are listening. With that, I'm going to get into something that has been mailed to some people's houses here recently because of the politics that's going on, but it's actually very disturbing to see from a perspective coming from labor and how labor continually gets villainized over and over again. You've heard me on the show many, many times talk about how there's been a narrative by corporate America over a long period of time to make unions look bad, and that reason is because corporate America doesn't want workers to have a voice. Now, corporate America clearly they have attorneys, they have consultants, and they have all the resources they need to argue whatever position they have, but then they tell their workers, you don't need a union. And one of the things that they utilize as an arm of that message and narrative is an organization called the National Right to Work Committee. And that committee just mailed to houses in my neighborhood, as well as I'm assuming any neighborhood where there's close elections for congressional leaders and maybe others. And I want to point out some of the things they said, and I'm actually going to come to this subject multiple times throughout this broadcast today, because I can tell you every time I read this, I was very frustrated with some of the stuff that is in this, and I think you're going to be just as frustrated when you hear some of these narratives. This characterizing unions like this letter and these quotes and the things that are being said in here is just, it's insane. And any elected official that's proud in their candidate survey that the Right to Work Committee has put out to say that they're in total opposition of forced unionism. We don't force unionism on anybody. Like, the process for workers to organize is a majority of workers in a particular area of the individuals that have decided to become union. And 99 times out of 100, workers that are union have decided to go to work at a particular job because it's a union job, and they went to work there because of the benefits, because of the retirement vehicle, and because of the wages and working conditions that are in that space of employment. And I think it's important to recognize that those individuals at the time that they decided to apply there, they were attracted to that job because that job is a good job. And the reason that job is a good job is because it's a union job. And so no one's forced to go to work there. If you decide to go to work there, great. But to characterize it as forced unionization, forced unionism, people are making a choice no different than they're making a choice at where they eat their cheeseburger at. They make a choice at where they go, where they do their banking. And if they don't like it, they can go somewhere else. And the reality is unions, statistics have shown how much we positively impact the workspace. To then characterize us in a position that we're trying to this total opposition to forced unionism, it's just a narrative that somebody has created to make unions sound bad. And shame on any elected official that wants to obviously be tagged this way or be considered to be in this space. There's another here, big labor's radical forced dues agenda. I'm sorry. Let's be very clear. Unions are the only business in America, as you've heard me say this before on the right to work subject. We're the only business in America where people have the right to not pay dues and then and get all the benefits, get all the retirement plans, get all the raises that everybody else did, not pay a dime for it. That's like somebody going to the burger stand over and over again every single day, eating and saying, nope, I don't like this about your company. I don't like that about your company, but you still got to give me a burger every single day. There is no business in this country that operates that's forced to actually do the work for people for free other than unions. And we still get hit with this narrative that says we're trying to force these sorts of issues. Yes, we think everybody should pay their fair share, especially if they're benefiting from the benefits, the retirement plans, the working conditions, the raises, all the things that come with being in a union environment. And to hit us with taglines like big labor's radical forced agenda. And let me just point something out that's in their propaganda. And I'm going to come back to this multiple times through the show because when I saw this and I read this, I was really worked up about it. And I said, what can I do about this? It's called Bring Awareness to It. One of the things that they have in their explainer, it's a backgrounder. The information below is helpful in explaining the questions on the front of this form. And so this sticks out like a sore thumb to me. Number 2 is a union under present federal labor laws is empowered to represent and bind all employees in a company's bargaining unit, including employees who oppose the union and don't want its services. Well, if you don't want the services of what a union does in a workplace, then why are you working there? Like, that means you want a non-union job where you don't have all the things in which have been negotiated for you on your behalf. And it explicitly says here that we're required to obviously do that for everybody, regardless if they pay or not. And so even though in their backgrounder, they're saying that everybody technically is not obligated to pay, on the front, the narrative over and over and over again is stating that we're trying to force everybody to pay. Actually, we are trying to force. Let's be straight up. I'm absolutely taking a position, and we take a position as a union that if these elected officials don't support workers, and if they support a system that allows people to get free cheeseburgers, even though they get a cheeseburger every day, even though they get everything that they get, burger stands will go out of business if that's what the rule was. They clearly wouldn't be able to operate. So we have to operate in a business environment that is extremely difficult, yet we're still successful, and then we still get hit with this narrative because we're taking a position that everybody should pay. Hey, look, if the law was that only those that paid received the benefits in which the union negotiated, I'm good with that. I'm all in on that. That means the employer would have to have a completely different set of rules and standards for all those workers that are non-union. But it doesn't. The system doesn't operate that way. And quite frankly, everybody that benefits from it should be paying. That is like saying, I don't like who my mayor is. I voted for the other person, and you know what? I'm not going to pay my property taxes now. I'm just not. I don't like them, so I'm not going to pay them. Clearly, if you're reaping the benefits of a particular circumstance, you should be part of it. Now, I'm going to get into more of this a little bit later. I'll do news on the back side of the show. But I just wanted to give you a little teaser into this National Right to Work Committee stuff. Believe me, I got so many other points to hit. But as always, my favorite part of the show, one of my favorite programs that we have created is the Teamster Advantage program. More than 1,000 small businesses have connected to our network, and we have a great time in this space connecting small business owners who are working class people that are doing everything they can every single day to try to support their family. Try to be positive in their community, try to connect to all the things that we just got done talking about. And what we've done is built a system that connects all of them, and we don't charge any of those participants anything for participating in our program. We advertise for them for free on our apps. Matter of fact, we get now 2 or 3 notifications every single day that says, hey, Taco Tuesday, or this going on Wednesdays, or hey, it's Mother's Day. Don't forget to get your mom some flowers from a particular, flower shop that's part of our network. Or if your car broke down or your windshield broke, just go to the app, push the button, and make the connection. I'm so excited of this program that we built in 2016 to see its size and its vastness now, and also the fact that we're in 26 chambers of commerce, and we have sitting here today Evan Sanford from the Redlands Chamber of Commerce. We have been just a great partner with the Redlands Chamber of Commerce, and from this point, I'd like to have Evan, introduce yourself and talk about this great relationship and talk about all the great things that the Redlands Chamber is doing. And I'll shut up now.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and it's an honor to be invited to the new space and be among the first guests in this new studio. I was actually just on KCAA for the I Love San Bernardino show with Ipiani, who invited me. He's in our Leadership Redlands class. So just less than 2 weeks ago, I was on KCAA
at the old
in a
studio.
Different building. And now I'm on KCAA in a different building. Same month, but a new location. So thank you to Mark. And
a big shout out to them for handling that move like they did.
Oh my gosh, it would, unless you knew, you wouldn't know. So thank you to everyone involved for making the transition happen and the invitation happen as well. I am very happy to be here to talk about what we're doing at the Chamber, the partnership that we have with the Teamsters, some of the ways that we do partner. I was just writing some down to make sure I didn't forget that there are so many. Mark was actually on our board when I started this position 3 years ago.
You tolerated him? We trying to get rid of him, and he just keeps now.
Well, he was so inspired. He left us to go start the Needles Chamber, and
true.
So there was a lot of great relationship building with Mark, and then Rich Smith served on our board. We also have a government review committee as part of our organization. We are a 501c6, so still a nonprofit, but with a political obligation to educate and advocate for our community. So with our government review committee, we take positions on candidates, developments, propositions, and the Teamsters is at that table as well. So it's very important for us to have any... Yes, go ahead, give yourself a round of applause.
Well, it's giving you a round of applause too, because we're partners in that space, right?
No. Yeah. I can barely hear anything, so I heard the faint sound of people clapping, so it just registered. But in all seriousness, it is important for us to have representation among every industry, every kind of business owner, every kind of employee, where they're coming from. At the Redlands Chamber, it's not just within the city limits. We have members across 16 different cities that I can think of off the top of my head. At some point, it may even say the greater Redlands Chamber because of how many...
and vicinity.
There you go. There you go.
Redlands and vicinity.
Perfect. Perfect. We'll do a poll and see
What they like more? What people like more?
No, but in all seriousness, there is momentum with what we're doing to provide, opportunities for employers as well as employees. I can get into more of our mission statement and how we have innovated in the space of what chambers have traditionally done and what we are doing now. So advocacy is a huge thing for us. We're at city council and commissions talking about the issues that matter to people, like the standard parking, but public safety or homelessness. Anything that's going to impact our business community, the Teamsters have a seat in that conversation at that table. We know that Rich Smith is on our city's planning commission, so we know that the Teamsters is well represented there. The Teamsters has been a major sponsor of the Redlands Chamber as a President's Circle member and sponsor of the New Year's Eve Orange Drop, cocktail competition.
I just want to drop the orange on somebody. I always want to drop the orange one day. I'm just kidding.
It is a very large orange.
I hear.
We have just built a 8.5-foot diameter orange as of last year to bring this event back. 3,000 people came in December. We're excited to bring it back again. But this orange is 120 feet in the air on a crane. It gets dropped. Confetti cannon towers, and it was free kid zone, gymnastics demos, and to have Teamsters there, not just last year when we brought it back, but back in the old version of the event when
Yes.
the bus came. I think Mark had a big part of that. So Teamsters has been a part of so many of our events.
I see Mark keeps taking credit for things.
Well, he gave me $20 to mention him at a minimum of
5 times. 10 times? Okay.
10 times.
All right.
So I think I'm four down.
You're almost there.
Well, we also have a lot of networking events that are monthly. So to have people like James Estrada, Rich, and other
Isn't
people,
James great?
He is.
Our members in the
fantastic.
city of Redlands are great. They're phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're really good at encouraging people to shop local, to participate. They do their Teamster Thursday or whatever. I forget what day of the week it is. I get it mixed up because we have Teamster Tuesdays too, where they all come to a location, a small business in the community. It's just great to see the energy in that space.
Yeah, every time I see James, it's like he's got a big smile on his face, and you just feel better just talking to him for 10 seconds.
He's a ball of positive energy. He's
For
great
sure,
to be around.
for sure.
And if he's listening, don't let your head grow. He's not now. He's further away, so he can't be looking through the window, going, "Let me in, let me in."
You also mentioned Teamsters Advantage, and our membership discount program goes really hand in hand. We have so many different categories of discounts, and so the vision is not just to see Teamsters Advantage stickers on those storefront windows, but a member discount a sticker as well, because there's no reason why we can't have more people shopping local. You said it really well earlier that the impact is not just felt when you buy a donut at Doe, for instance. You are supporting not just the employees at Doe, but the families of those employees, and employers. And you think about that one place and then another place and another place, and if you continue to do that, the ripple effect of shopping local really gets very large very quickly. And it's our responsibility to promote that and make sure that people know about what you're doing and what we're doing and see how we can continue to grow.
It's interesting. Competition sometimes creates a situation where you say, "Oh no, we don't. Don't show that in relation to our program." No, actually, competition. What we've learned by people's buying habits and their shopping habits is that having multiple programs, or let's just use as a place to eat. If you see an individual like Jack in the Box by itself somewhere, like on a corner, it doesn't do as well as if there's 3 or 4 places to go eat. If there's 3 or 4 places, the competition actually becomes better because it becomes a draw and more people start utilizing it versus it being in isolation. So we love the fact that the Chamber has its member discount program to pair up right next to ours, because for those that are utilizing that, look over at the Teamster Advantage one and say, well, what about us? You end up creating a synergy where everybody benefits from it.
Exactly. And there's so many places where there's two businesses next door to each other. And so if you didn't know that that place existed, but now you know because you went to the place you were planning to go to because of the discount, well, now you're going to go right next door because you might get a discount there as well.
See, I could tell, Evan, that you were in radio and TV. Look at the way you're coming across here. This is like, he's so smooth.
I appreciate the compliment very much. It's nice to be back in a place that I feel very comfortable with. But I was always where Mark is on the other side of the glass. And
were you?
I should never be in front of a camera or a mic.
You're doing well on this side.
No.
You're killing it.
I would much rather be over there, and that's where I'm much more comfortable. But I will take the compliment.
Well, next time he calls in sick, we're going to pull you in.
Sure. As long as it's, well, I was going to say I never sleep, so as long as it's in the middle of the night, I'm happy to come here. But the point is that, you might have a family that they don't all feel like this salad place, but they feel like the donut place. So you go there and you can split the family up, and everyone wins because you're supporting not just that one location, but a second. So just to close the loop on what you were saying, you're absolutely right.
Well, Evan, we really appreciate you coming on and talking. Is there anything you want to close on? Anything else you want to say? We really appreciate the partnership with the chamber. Obviously, we have partnerships with 25 other chambers. I think it's actually growing now. It may be beyond 26. But our relationship with these small businesses, we really cherish it, and we hope, we just keep trying to do the right thing in this space. So anything you want to close on? We're proud of this space. Obviously, you're just as proud of it too. So
totally. I would say the one thing I wasn't able to mention up till now was that we have a Visit Redlands tourism initiative. We just launched a new city map, which is really beautiful. I actually brought one for you. So it is really unique because as you scan this QR code, but I'll take a step back. When I took this job 3 years ago, we had about 6,000, no, maybe 5,000 maps. And I said, well, we'll never have to print another map because we have so many. Well, less than 2 years later, we were completely out of them. And the dilemma then became, how do we do this going forward? I don't want to print something that's going to become out of date. So we used Esri technology combined with a traditional map so that you can scan it, take you to our website where you've got a collection of what are called story maps, and you can see all of these local places to patron. You can also see the parks and trails and all of this. It's all geolocation based because, as you know, that's what Esri does. They're the creators of that kind of software. But then you open it up, and then you have your traditional maps. So for those that wanted that traditional tourism,
I love the old school map.
Yeah. And everyone does. And right. I thought we'd have them for 20 more years and never run out. And we just got 6,000. So if anyone is interested in this beautiful map that takes you to, and some of the places on the back, if you see the logos,
transportation, shops.
Well, and then we also have train information and the airports and all of these things. It's all in one single space. But then you've got all these schools and parks and new train stations and police stations and all these things. We believe that this is a one-stop shop. If anyone lives in Redlands or wants to visit and they want to come by the chamber office, we've got these. These are free, obviously, for anyone that is interested. And Randy, if you turn it this way, you can see our free New Year's Eve orange drop, our dog jog, which raises money for the animal shelter, our cocktail competition, where we support our local bars and restaurants, and our Leadership Redlands program. This is all in this free resource. So thanks for letting me promote that as well.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you very much for coming on. Even the Redlands Chamber has, again, been a great partnership, a great partner to us, and it's been a great partnership. Our members, our members that work for the city of Redlands love to kind of exchange and partner and hang out and help, because a lot of the events that you guys put on, the city helps do it, and it's our members that are doing it. So very cyclical relationship and situation here. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for
appreciate it. And we'll just take a quick, let's say 90-second break.
I know. Put a little gold in the teeth and the feet good, so I took the doors out the Jeep. Okay, I see a brother holding your seat, no beef, but I'm trying to get the noise. You at least don't take my talking to your around. I can keep it chill, like chill, like chill. I'ma keep it real when you're mad.
All right, Randy Corgan here, back on the Worker Power Hour and the Teamsters 1932 Radio Network. New tagline I got to get used to saying versus what we were saying before. Longtime organizer, first-time radio host. I am joined by Lisa and Jessica, who are NUHW members who work for Kaiser, correct?
Yes.
And you all are currently on strike right now. Is that correct? You got an active strike going on.
Yes, open-ended.
So instead of me rambling on, because everybody gets to hear me for a couple hours, why don't you guys talk about what the reason why you're on strike, and just kind of some details of what's going on right now.
Got it.
And I love the Dodger hat, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers.
Do you want me to start?
Yes.
Okay, so we have been actively bargaining with Kaiser this is our contract is up this year. So we've been actively bargaining with Kaiser since July 31st. We wanted to start bargaining with them in April, but they pushed back against that. So July
dragged
31st.
their feet.
Correct,
Yes.
correct. Our contract, unfortunately, after several weeks of bargaining with them, expired on September 30th. So now we started our open-ended strike on was it the 14th? I can't remember. My days are running together now.
October 14th.
That's what happens when you're on strike.
Yeah.
When you're on
Yes,
strike,
exactly.
days start to kind of blend together. That's okay.
Yes.
You're absolutely forgivable in that space. What you are doing right now is what built the American workers' middle class, is workers that have decided to take direct action, walk off the job, withhold their labor. More than 100 years ago, or actually 92 years ago, it wasn't legal to do this. And obviously it became legal in 1934. And what you're doing is the building blocks of making sure that corporate America steps up to the plate and fulfills their obligation, because we've seen them not do it. So
Yes.
with that, congratulations to you. I know that on behalf of all the listeners, we really, really love what you're doing. We know that it's hard and it's difficult, but
Absolutely.
you got to do what you got to do, and we've got your back.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your support and solidarity. Absolutely.
That's why you're on the radio show. So what are the issues?
Unlike what our employer says, that there's just saying it's economic and that we're greedy. It's always been about patient care. So I've been a steward with NUHW since the inception, which is about 14 years ago. And everything that we've done towards mental health, we're mental health workers. So we're therapists, psychologists, psychiatric RNs, medical social workers. So everything that we've done within this organization has come through all of our contract campaigns and our fights. So it's about patient care. Initially, it was about 14 years ago. It was really about initial access. So when our clients would call to get an appointment for mental health services, they could wait for weeks before getting one, and
Which
because
is crazy.
it's
Yes,
very
it is.
crazy,
It's dangerous.
very crazy. Dangerous is right.
Better word.
Yeah.
Very much so. And so because of the actions of our first contract, we got initial access that was pushed, and now we get people in within 10 business days. Then we allied with political allies to get SB 221, which is about getting people in for a return access, because your first appointment could be, we'll get you in, and then we won't see you for 6, 8, 12 weeks
Yes.
for therapy. These are like huge.
This is shocking.
It's incredible. So this time around,
and you're the bad guy.
So we're the
it's
bad
our
guy.
fault.
Of
Somehow
course.
you're the bad guy.
Of
And I can
course.
tell you're a union activist because you keep pounding the table. That's your
It's an important step. here.
Everybody that's streaming and watching, they're like, yeah, she's a shop steward. I can tell.
Very emphatic with this stuff.
Yes.
So this recent time around is really, it continues to be about patient care because we still are not seeing people within a timely manner. And the other piece of that is that, even though we see people directly face to face, there's other things that go into being a therapist that is not just about face to face work. And so it really is about the administrative, the indirect time that they give us absolutely no time. Well, let me say 2 hours a week for like 35 clients, which is if you're looking at doing.
What was that again?
Yeah, 2 hours.
Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, like
Yes.
2 hours
That's
for
9 seconds a piece, right?
Pretty much, pretty much. And so we are having to do now. This is the recent fight for that to to be able to do the things that are not just direct patient care, but are about doing maybe CPS reports, doing suicide safety plans, doing correspondence that patients ask for,
Referrals, resources.
consultations with our colleagues about so that we could do quality patient care. That's
Yes.
what we're interested in. So that's the biggie, as well as a lot of our brothers and sisters. I've been with Kaiser for 21 years, and so about 10 years ago, how corporations love to two-tier us and weaken the system of the union. So they took away the defined pension for about 1,700 of our colleagues. So we're fighting for them as well.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Two-tiering. I'm actually going to talk about it in the news. The Boeing workers are out over this issue.
Absolutely.
And what a lot of people don't realize is that UAW workers, it was one of the big issues they went on the street for. Now,
Yes.
they were unable to gain their, when they went back to work, they were unable to gain their retirement vehicle. But it was one of the main things because this space where corporate America thinks that a 401k or any 401(b), 457, all those vehicles that they replace a defined benefit, they say they're expensive. Yeah, no kidding.
Absolutely.
We understand that they're expensive. Look at how much you're profiting.
Yes.
And the reason why corporate America in the last 40 years has been profiting so much more is because they've taken these things away. And I commend you for throwing down on an issue to make sure everybody has a retirement vehicle that they can be secure in.
Right.
And that they know that they can map out their future and that they know they can depend on.
Right. Well, and you're absolutely right there because Kaiser used to be the golden standard,
That's
right?
correct.
When I got hired on, I was so excited.
Everybody had a good retirement.
Yes, and great benefits. The place you want to go to and retire at, right? We used to call it the golden handcuffs. However, we're not. Our platform this year is equity, meaning that we want to be equitable as far as our counterparts in Northern California and Hawaii, even in our colleagues in other unions, right? We are not asking for anything more than what Kaiser has already provided
For
other
121,000 other members.
Yes,
So
yes.
1,700 of us versus 121,000.
Good for you
Yes.
for throwing down on this.
Yes.
Good for you because you're right. What they want to do is they want it to go the other way. And quite frankly, Kaiser's rates for all of our union trust funds are higher than everybody else's.
Right.
And every time we turn around, and what they used to say is this. They don't say it anymore. Well, remember, we're paying our people more than everybody else, and we have better benefits than everybody else.
Not anymore.
When we're arguing over renewal rates right now, they don't say that anymore because they know that we can put our finger in their eye
Right.
when they're trying to use that, they're trying to hide behind it. And we would say, okay, that's acceptable. It's an acceptable reason that your rate is a little bit higher if all of your workers are union, if all of them are in a defined benefit, and so on and so forth. So, sorry to interrupt you. I just think
fine.
it's such an incredible issue to throw down on and to
Yes.
make sure that it brings awareness. Because what's happened is the average worker believes that retirement vehicle, they don't even know it exists anymore.
Right.
Because Kaiser and other corporations have won by stripping them away and getting more and more to give it up versus doing what you're doing
Right.
and fighting for it.
Right. And we've actually done the math for Kaiser and have let them know that to pay those of us that don't have a pension every year, it's going to cost them maybe, I think it was like $2,000 extra a year. It's really nothing compared to all the money that they're spending on the ads and the propaganda and everything they're putting out.
That's money saved on retention.
Yes,
So
yes.
in other words, because what happens
Exactly.
is we see this in the healthcare industry. Let's say workers in the public sector, because public sector for hospitals is funded different than private sector, right?
Right.
And so there is more money in the private sector industry for when it comes to healthcare than it is the public sector because of the funding streams and the way the resources are built out. However, now that Kaiser is eliminating the retirement portion of it, that people that have been in the industry long enough, they're looking for what happens when I'm 55, 57, 62. What are things going to look like at that moment versus chasing the cash now?
Yes.
Because obviously, there's programs where, you can make a lot of money up front,
Right.
but there's nothing in the benefit side. And so it looks super, super lucrative.
Yeah.
So for all of you to be, putting this issue out there, hopefully more and more workers understand the importance of this subject because it's actually one of the most important things to fight for.
Yes.
We shouldn't have, socially, it shouldn't have been abandoned for the kind of 30, 40 years like it did.
Right. So yeah, so outside of the pension, and like Lisa was talking about the patient time management that we really need, we're again wanting to be equitable with our counterparts in NorCal, right? So they get in their schedule 7 hours a week of protected time, which means that management cannot tap into that. So we can utilize that, like Lisa was saying, for all of those vital tasks that we need to do, that quality care that we need to do outside of the therapy room. As Lisa said, we actually start with 4 hours a week of PTMG or patient time management. However, because of net loss or if there's cancellations or no-shows, which are out of the provider's control, it goes down to 2 hours a week, which is, again, you said it's like 9 seconds a patient. Right. That's not quality care. That's burning out your therapists, and it's providing that huge turnover rate, which that affects our patients too. It's just it's a vicious cycle. It really is. This also is affecting our medical social workers, our care at home workers who there's not enough of them either to provide the care that they're needing to their patients. When they need coverage, there's nobody to cover. So these people are working, weekends or mandatory kind of overtime and not getting what they're needing, that time that they're needing to provide this quality care. So this is huge. So there's a lot at stake here, Same for our psychologists. We only have in SoCal, I want to say, don't quote me on the number, but it's about a little over 50 psychologists, I believe, in SoCal for all of our Kaiser patients. I don't even want to know what that caseload
what that
is.
ratio is.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's why it takes 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It takes 6 weeks for this. That's why all those delays are there.
Yes. Right.
And then what's happening is that's piling up on a smaller number of people, which makes the workload even higher.
Yes.
Which is obviously the whole issue here.
Absolutely.
But you're greedy.
Yep.
You're supposedly greedy.
Yeah, we are. I mean, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, we're greedy.
This is good greedy.
Yes.
It's so funny that a Jeff Bezos or it's not greedy that he straps himself to a rocket and flies around to the moon or Mars or wherever he's going, or Elon Musk, whatever. You know what I mean? All these. That's not greedy. No.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's what's greedy. This here is fundamental fight for working issues.
Working class, for middle class. It's just
That's right.
It's like
working class, middle class.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is what there used to be a time when 50, 60 years ago, when every employer, and Kaiser was one of them, that prided themselves on, you come to work for us. Yes. You can retire here. You can retire young.
Yes.
Because we want you to retire young so that you're happy on your way out and that the person coming in and they have a more youthful workforce, right? They feel it's more productive workforce. Yeah. And that the person exiting is not exiting because of health. They're exiting on their timeline. That's when you maximize the productivity of your workforce, is when the workers have control of the entry and exit. Mm-hmm. Not that they're in complete control running the operation, but they have a control over their life.
Right.
If they're strapped to the job at the end because they can't afford to retire, because of these issues we're discussing right now,
Yes.
you have a less productive workforce.
Yes.
So what you're fighting for is not just equity, it's actually a more productive workforce. And so to see employers get away from this over this last 40 years, you know, it's disgusting. And then to tag you as greedy.
Right.
Yes.
I got some words for him, but we are live radio. So this is live. This ain't a podcast.
Yeah.
This is live radio. Yes, he's got a button over there he can push and dump our words. Fortunately, we haven't put ourselves. I'm surprised I haven't put. I'm a labor guy, right? I'm surprised I haven't put myself in that position in 11 months. So what else? Let's shift gears. We got about 6 minutes.
Okay.
Just so you know, I have a mandatory break with NBC at the top of the hour. The rest of the breaks I can move around whenever we want.
Got it.
But in the 6 minutes, let's shift gears just quickly. And do you have any funny stories of your jobs? You don't have to tell people, the individuals. I always like to put people on the spot, especially in the healthcare space. We hear some pretty incredible things. We didn't prep you on this ahead of time,
no.
huh?
I mean, so as far
Robert's
as-
looking at me right now
So
going,
I can talk about. So I had a little client that was having some just emotional issues, emotional dysregulation issues, and at like an elementary school age. And one day in my office was very upset. And we had a really good bond. I was, I work with everybody, but I enjoy working with kids. And so he got very angry with me and said, no likes for you, Dr. Lisa. And then
No
13
likes for you.
likes for his psychiatrist,
Yep.
13 likes for Dr. So-and-so. And so
No likes
she
for
heard
you.
it down. And so every time she says,
funny.
no likes for you, Dr. Lisa.
Yes.
So
see, that's a funny story. That's
Yes.
a funny, clean story.
Yes.
yes, that was. And then the next week he came in and we were BFFs.
No, yeah,
again.
you had 100 likes. You had 100
Just
likes
like,
at that
okay,
point.
no likes that week. So
I'm trying to think. One story that sticks out for me is when I was covering one day in the ER. So we do that sometimes. We go in and cover our patients that go into the ER, unfortunately, because a lot of these patients, again, it's going back to quality care, but they're high-risk patients. So this is dangerous stuff here.
And they can't get they've already tried to get the care somewhere else that we just
Exactly.
got done talking about.
Exactly,
And so guess
yes.
where they're forced into? They're
Yes.
forced in the ER.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was doing a consult, which is like an assessment on this patient to kind of see what's bringing them in, what's going on, whether they're needing to go on a hold or what have you. So it's quite obvious to me that this patient is unfortunately very psychotic. Right? There's a lot going on there, and the whole time that they were in there, they had a blanket, like a hospital blanket over them. And when we're leaving at the end of the time to go, this person stops at the door and looks at me and goes, blanket or no blanket? Like it's an outfit like change or whatever. I was like, oh yeah, definitely blanket. And they're
Definitely
like,
blanket.
yeah, that's what I thought or whatever. And then they leave. I thought that was just so funny. Like it broke from that serious moment because obviously their mental health issues are very serious. We want to get them the care that they need, but that just always stands out to me. Like, oh yeah, definitely blanket for sure. Good choice.
So other than maybe funny stories or anything else you want to talk about, maybe your job, why you love your job so much?
I've been in the mental health field for probably over 30 years. And so I've been a therapist for about 25, a little over 25 of those. I love being a therapist. I love helping people. I love seeing them progress in their journeys. I feel so honored and blessed that I feel like I get to peek a little bit behind people's lives, and they give me the privilege and honor to do that. And I get to walk with them and support them and offer them like information for them to go and move forward and progress in their life with whatever they come in for. And so that is just an amazing like blessing that I get, and I still love it. No, they haven't taken that out of me yet. So
Thank
I
goodness.
still love being a therapist. I love patient care. I love it.
You don't sound like a union thug to me.
Absolutely
I'm
not.
not going to slice
I
anyone's
got all
tires.
this stuff from the Right to Work Committee over here talking about. I'm going to talk about as part of my show is these union thugs.
Yeah.
Y'all don't look like union thugs to me, and that's what drives me crazy. These are union. This is what us union workers do.
Yeah.
Is exactly what you're talking about. Jessica, did you want to talk about why you love your job and
Yes.
90 seconds.
90 seconds. Okay. So I actually used to do what Lisa, so I'm also a licensed therapist. And I used to do what Lisa does, which was the back-to-back, it's become assembly line therapy, right? And I did that for the first 4 years that I was at Kaiser. I actually had to switch from that role because I was suffering physically, emotionally, and I was burning out. And so it was either stick with Kaiser or go do something else. And I wanted to stick with Kaiser because I wanted to continue with these patients, right? Because that's important to me. So I now do what's called intensive care coordination. So I get to work with everybody else's patients when they've are discharged from like a psychiatric hospitalization, or before they get to that point, it's getting them scheduled with higher level of care than what we can provide within Kaiser. And I just love being able to provide that care coordination, that case management.
Transition piece there,
Yes.
yeah.
I feel like I'm effective in that. So I like that.
Well, we really appreciate y'all coming on and talking about your struggle, your fight, the principle of it, and how important this work is to our community, right? Like, so Kaiser's not thanking you right now, but we'll thank you.
Thank you
The
so
Teamsters
much.
1932 Radio Network and the Worker Power Hour absolutely thanks you for the work that you do in the community, and absolutely thanks you for coming on and sharing your story. And we'll make sure we can do everything we can do. If we need to get the bus over there or whatever we got to do to have a little bit of fun, we'll definitely, the Teamsters, we love strikes.
Please come out and join us. Yes.
So-
Come out and join us on the strike lines. And we appreciate your solidarity.
This is Randy Corrigan and the Worker Power Hour. KCO, Teamsters 1932 Radio Network. I almost just rolled through it right there, Mark. Take us to a little bit of music before we actually hit the main break at the top of the hour. Randy Corrigan, the Worker Power Hour.
Everyone says sooner or later you'll reach the end of the line. When things get rough, some think it's easy to judge.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda is sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Taylor. Just 6 days remain until Election Day as the candidates campaign in battleground states. Vice President Harris is heading to Pennsylvania and Wisconsin after speaking in North Carolina. Former President Trump also spoke in North Carolina and is now set to hold a rally in Green Bay, Wisconsin with former NFL quarterback Brett Favre. Trump says the Biden administration doesn't think much of his supporters and America.
Joe Biden finally said what he and Kamala really think of our supporters. He called them garbage.
During his rally in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, Trump told the crowd they're not garbage and it's Biden and Kamala Harris who treat them like they're subhuman because they're voting for him. The White House says Biden was only referring to a joke from a comedian at a Trump rally describing Puerto Rico as a floating island of garbage. At the closing bell on Wall Street, the Dow was down by 91, the S&P dropped 19, and the Nasdaq fell 104 points. Lisa Taylor, NBC News Radio.
Are you looking for a good union job? The Inland Empire's 14,000-member-strong Teamsters Local 1932 has opened a training center to get working people trained and placed in open positions in public service clerical work and in jobs in the logistics industry. This is a new opportunity to advance your career and raise standards across the region. Visit 1932trainingcenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingcenter.org.
Once in a while, every so often, an educator comes to our school systems with passion and vision. That's Nicholas Dibbs.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Dibbs, teacher running for school board here in Garden Grove Unified Trustee Area 1. And the district cut 10 intermediate school woodshop classes and 4 auto shop classes. We need these classes back so students can have a better future.
This is Nicholas Dibbs' Opus.
Where many schools eliminate their woodshop, a project that they could really dig into.
No matter where you live across this country,
it feels like thrilling to see something that I've done being so important.
It feels nice because I know that a lot of people don't really think that kids can really do stuff like this. They don't think that we can actually do big things.
Some leaders recognize that, others don't. But on November 5th, you can by voting for Nicholas Dibbs.
Please support this effort so we can have quality vocational education.
And that's amazing.
Go to nickdibs.org, nickdibs.org. Thank you.
Pay for by Dibs for School Board 2024.
Vote no on Measure S. Just 1%. 1 is the loneliest number that you'll ever see. It's a 1% pay cut to everyone. They say it's not much, pure deception, and they will always be back for more. Tell them that making big threats to the paychecks of public safety employees, firefighters, closing a firehouse, firing law enforcement, closing a senior center, and the kids' pool is unacceptable when you spend money like it's water. A nearby city raised their sales tax to 8.75%, and the result is over 100,000 square feet of empty retail space. What is a 1% sales increase of nothing? Nothing. Measure S is a terrible solution. A $7.3 million budget deficit, and the city manager got a $106,000 pay increase. Rewards for poor results? Tell them to do better and take less. Vote no on Measure S just like you voted no on Measure E years back. Same bad deal. Protect our city and protect our local businesses. Vote no on Measure S, paid for by donations of local residents to the Urban Ingenuity PAC.
What would you do if you had a broken bone? You'd go to the doctor and use your insurance, right? Well, what would you do if you have a serious problem with drugs and alcohol? Most people do nothing until it's way too late. Your insurance can help you get clean and sober with the assistance of a place like the Detox and Treatment Helpline. Many times, addiction treatment is fully covered. So why not use your insurance to treat your addiction problem just like you would if you had a broken bone? And with the Family Medical Leave Act, you're allowed to take time off by law, and your employer doesn't need to know the reason. So there are 2 good reasons. You've got insurance you can use for your addiction problem, and with the Family Medical Leave Act, it's completely confidential. Call now, 800-398-7414. That's 800-398-7414.
Welcome to the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan, a brand new show about labor and worker issues. The host of the show is Randy Corrigan, Secretary Treasurer and Principal Office and leader of Teamsters 1932, one of the largest public sector labor unions on the West Coast, representing workers in government and non-sworn law enforcement personnel. Randy Corrigan is a 30-year Teamster who first became involved in the labor movement by volunteering his time as an organizer with the Teamsters Union at the age of 21. Since then, he's helped thousands organize, mobilize, and achieve bargaining rights. He accomplished this by spending countless hours with brave men and women all over Southern California, in their living rooms, on the picket line, to bring workers towards victory. This is the Worker Power Hour. And now here's the host of the show, Randy Corrigan.
All right, Randy Corrigan and the Worker Power Hour. We're going to do a nice little test on the music that Mark selected. He's actually done a really good job of building a pretty good cadre of songs. Sorry, I stumbled there for a minute. That's the longtime organizer, first-time radio host part there where the rookie status comes in. So I locked up on a word. I was looking at Mark and admiring his beauty, and it just it froze me up for a minute as Mark's falling out of his chair right now. Also need to do a shout out to the city of Rialto, please. Making sure, again, getting text messages, making sure everybody's listening in. So those of you in the city of Rialto that are listening in, if I miss anybody, they're starting to text me and go, what about us? We're listening. We love that part of the show because it tells us more and more people are listening. Man, Lisa and Jessica talking about their strike. It really leads right into some of the news that I'm going to cover here in a few minutes. I do have a guest that's Carlos Resendez. We're going to talk here in about 20 or 30 minutes once I get through this news because I got to banter on some more about the Right to Work Committee. But the work that they do for Kaiser and the fact that most people wouldn't realize that Kaiser over the last decade had been trying to strip away a fundamental benefit that Kaiser was a Kaiser Steel, Kaiser Resources, Kaiser Permanente, that those institutions really attracted a workforce for decades, for nearly 70 years, saying that they provided the best benefits, they provided the best retirement vehicles, they provided the best of everything. Come to work for us. They were the gold standard that they had pointed out golden handcuffs. Once you got there, you weren't going to go anywhere else because no one provided more. To get the awareness out that that Kaiser's been taking a position to start to get rid of the retirement vehicle, a defined benefit. And I get it that 80-90% of workers in today's day think that the 401k is the retirement vehicle. And I just want you to know a 401k was originally formed in the late 70s, and the authors of the statute actually are disgusted. About 5 years ago, they came out and talked about how that a 401k was never intended to be a primary retirement vehicle. It was a supplemental savings program. And for it to now turn into the primary retirement vehicle for more than 90% of the workforce, the authors of the original 401k are shocked by it and disgusted by it. And to see companies like Kaiser or any other try to move in that direction and take away those benefits, and then to try to villainize workers and take a position that they're greedy because of it is insane. And it's actually at the heart of what is going on with the Boeing workers. Boeing workers and the International Machinists Union have been on strike for 7 weeks. Actually, it's from what I understand, it's up to a $6 billion quarterly loss for them. And the fight is really around the elimination of their pension. And good for them for drawing the line hard on this issue right now, especially in a time when corporate America is profiting at its all-time high, that they want the retirement vehicle to be complete burden on the worker versus it being a benefit that the employer provides. And some of the things in which the employer, which Boeing had said, like issues around, well, it's too expensive, it's this, it's that. Yes, it is. I won't hide from it. You're absolutely right. It's expensive. It costs money. And, workers are willing to take a little less money in wages if they have a very strong retirement vehicle. And what's happened is corporate America swiped away all these retirement vehicles, swiped away retiree medical, swiped away defined benefits. And then they throw a few bucks at you on the wage side of it, and then 20, 30 years later say, oh, it's too expensive to pay for. Well, quite frankly, they got away with not paying for it for a while. So that's a savings in their pocket. And quite frankly, I think they need to step back up and start paying it. And workers who are willing to go to the street over subjects like this, good for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is not, in our mind, that's not about being greedy. It's about being fair. Now, should you propose a plan that would bankrupt an employer? No, absolutely not. And you need to make sure we know that at the bargaining table, what is affordable by that employer and what is not affordable. This whole message around workers need to be completely responsible for their retirement vehicles. Quite frankly, families that are taking care of their kids, getting their kids to soccer practice, trying to pay the bills, go to work every day. They don't understand the stock market. Most people don't understand how all this stuff works. And a lot of times their 401ks, they get victimized by the fact that they're not sure how the system works. And yeah, there's people that'll help you move your money in the right place. But why is it that the employee is bearing all the risk? It should be that the employer has that risk, especially if they're a very profitable entity. And so one of the things that stuck out to me in this article regarding the Boeing strike is apparently the question was asked, what's the main issue that these workers are going out on strike for? And apparently the room erupted with pension. And a company and a corporation like Boeing that has made multiple billions and billions and billions of dollars over the last few decades, they should absolutely be stepping up. So we'll keep you posted on that strike. Obviously, they're in week number 7. Judy Chu, the labor secretary, has stepped in trying to help resolve that. That's going to, in my opinion, that's going to go on for a while. These employers are willing to lose a lot of money. And I think, like Jessica pointed out, the amount of money to pay for the retirement vehicle is really small in comparison to how much the labor dispute is. And a little secret, I know that workers will always take a little bit less on a raise if they know they're going to have a strong retirement vehicle, especially if it enhances that vehicle. And what that balance is obviously up to the workforce in that particular situation. But kudos to those striking Boeing workers who really appreciate. They're throwing down for millions of workers in this country right now, and that shouldn't be lost on anybody. CVS workers have reached a tentative agreement after a weekend strike, and UFCW, the union representing more than 7,000 CVS employees, have reached a tentative agreement. Huge improvements have been made to pay, health care, and staffing, and so we think it's obviously newsworthy, and congratulations to those workers. We'll hopefully report on to you once they've ratified that contract. And then an interesting question here actually ties into what I brought up earlier, is what role will unions play in the 2024 presidential election? There's a guide here in an article. I think it's important for people to take a look at. USA Today put it out for those of you that actually want to read it and see how many workers, favor Republicans, favor Democrats. What are the issues in which compel them to be part of the union, or to be part of the political process, and how much being in a union impacts those decisions. I know for us internally, it's always something fun to debate about, and sometimes less than fun. It's stressful in these times that we argue adamantly for our side. But it really should boil down to how these elected officials are protecting workers. And this article really talks a lot about how a majority of workers, what they support, why they support it. And it really ties into this national right to work issue that I'm referring to. The National Right to Work Committee is proud to announce things like this candidate absolutely opposes big labor's overreach for issues regarding the PRO Act, and trying to make sure that workers, more than 70% of workers in America, want to be in a union, but only 10% are. And the reason why is because the laws are very antiquated from 1934 and 1947, and there's been no adjustment to deal. Well, there's been an adjustment, but it's favored corporate America, and there's been no adjustment on behalf of the workers for that process to be sped up, to be more efficient. And I'll give you a situation like with Amazon. Amazon's one of the biggest corporations in the world. Workers at JFK 8, who are now Teamsters, they voted in a secret ballot election to be union 2.5 years ago. And Amazon has obviously ignored that process. And yet all these other iterations legally where Amazon is obligated to bargain in 20 different locations, Amazon is obligated to bargain, and has,
going in and out is a civil matter.
That's right. I was on a picket line.
Obligation to go to court, and you know that.
Thank you, Mark, for adding that. That was a moment in time during a labor dispute. But the point is that the National Right to Work Committee really pushes themselves into the space right now with politics, and they actually want to villainize unions. And listening to Lisa and Jessica talk about how important their role is, that somehow they're union thugs, that big labor's radical agenda is trying to put a law in that actually makes everybody pay dues that are benefiting from being in a collective bargaining agreement. I mean, I'm sorry. It's radical. I guess it sounds radical to them that we want to change the law that actually requires everybody who's benefiting from something to actually pay for it. There is no other business in America that operates where we are required to do work for people that say we're just not going to pay. And we're radical for saying that the only business in America that is categorized that way, we're somehow radical because we're saying there should be a law in the books that eliminates that rule. And especially when more than 70% of the population wants to be unionized. And some of the other things here I got to point out. Millions of workers are forced to surrender billions of dollars each year just to keep their jobs. I said this earlier. This is there's an elected official in this area that that prides himself on these types of quotes. I'll say it again, that millions of workers are forced to surrender billions of dollars. I'm sorry that you pay dues 2.25 times your hourly rate of pay or 2.5 times your hourly rate of pay, and that pays for all the services in which get bargained. So what's incredible about this is that elected officials would double down on this. And why? Because companies like Boeing, like Kaiser, are paying the National Right to Work Committee. And imagine this committee that first of all, I say we all try to be members of the committee, say, look, we want to participate in your organization, but we don't want to pay dues. By the way, we want you to represent our interests. We don't want to pay you dues. And we think that you ought to change how you do business on top of it. First of all, they wouldn't allow us to participate if we're not participating, number one. And clearly they wouldn't even listen to our position. And most likely, because I've done this before in the past with organizations like this, they would actually refuse to allow us to become a member or a participant. I've actually had that happen to me personally, where I've tried to become a member of organizations like this so that I could actually have my voice heard, I could participate in it, and I can actually try to invoke change, to try to provoke change, and they just reject you. So words like that, where millions of workers are forced, first of all, it's not true, because they're not forced. If you don't like a union job, they sought the job. It's not the only job in the city. It's not the only job in the area. They sought the job out because it's a good job. And the reason it's a good job is because it's a union job. And so they knew it before they even applied, or they knew it as soon as they applied, or they knew it immediately after applying. And so if it's a job that you're seeking and you want to do it, you're volunteering to go to work there. This isn't prison where you're actually forced to go to work there. And that one of the things that us crazy union people do is that it's wasteful work rules, job feather bedding, slowdowns, sick outs, strikes, and hate the boss mentality. That is not what unions do, number one. Number two, wasteful work rules. I'm sorry that we're arguing that there's some work rules on the job. I'm sorry that workers actually have the right to have a say-so. Those big corporations have attorneys. They have all of these resources. They have everything at their disposal they have HR. They have all of these systems in place, but yet workers trying to have work rules is wasteful. That slowdowns or strikes, a strike is a protest. Doesn't the Constitution protect protests in this country? I think it's important to point something out. This is something I'm fired up about. I'm disgusted by the so-called protest of January 6th at our Capitol in this country. That was not you want to protect that protest? And quite frankly, this person thinks that protest is okay to protect, but a strike is wasteful? A strike where workers say we're going to withhold our labor peacefully, and we're going to say we're not going to do this work until we agree on terms peacefully. You're saying that is wasteful? No, our right to protest in this country is in our Constitution, period. Called union thugs, and somehow threats and intimidation and even physical violence. For those of you that can see this on the camera right now, I'm actually referring to a document that was actually sent to everybody. And the reason why I'm railing on this is that in this political fever that's going on right now in this system, it's information like that's getting pounded into communities, into my neighbors or other communities, where there's this rhetoric and this narrative that somehow we're all horrible. And for all of you, those in law enforcement and safety, in states where this is their platform, and apparently this is what they sign onto. And so this elected official who actually says he supports labor, I'm not going to say who he is because they're doing this in multiple places, and my point to this is the rhetoric that the Right to Work Foundation does. But any elected official that's supported by the Right to Work Foundation supports this platform according to the Right to Work Foundation and the Right to Work Committee. In states where union officials have already been granted the monopoly bargaining power, Monopoly bargaining power? If it was monopoly bargaining power, that means we'd bargain. I know everybody's laughing actually in the studio right now. Monopoly bargaining power means we would bargain on behalf of everybody in the industry. Everybody. That means we bargain on behalf of everybody. So this is a straight up lie. It's not monopoly bargaining power. It is bargaining power for the bargaining unit that the workers have chosen to be represented, that they've chosen to be represented. And let's take it a step further. Granted this monopoly bargaining power for public safety union officials and simply ignore no strike clauses and hold taxpayers hostage until their demands are met. Okay, there's an exchange of work here. When workers in safety and public safety were not represented prior to them being represented, they didn't have retirement vehicles. They didn't have good benefits. They didn't make a lot of money. They were making pennies on the dollar. And I think it's just important to show that imagine how every association or union that represents public safety feels about this comment being swiped at like this. And quite frankly, people need to start paying more attention to the subject, because in times like this during an election, everything gets blurred because people are sometimes too focused on some of the wrong things. And this is the stuff that sneaks by, and it is super important for us to pay attention to this, because calling us extortionists, yes, it's in here. Calling us extortionists, saying that extortion as a technique, that project labor agreements that we're trying to force institutions into contribute to bankrupt union pensions. Like, once again, lie after lie after lie. Let's talk briefly about project labor agreements and the reason for them. The purpose to project labor agreements, which almost every single city, every single county, every single state, every single government agency has now recognized that they're necessary. Because if you don't have a project labor agreement, you have too many people undercutting the bidding process, and they'll pay people below minimum wage. They'll pay people below whatever the standard wages are in the industry to try to get the bid, and it prevents an undercutting of middle class, working class jobs. And so at every step, this is just use this narrative over and over again to make us look bad. And I think it's important and when I say us, I'm talking about, forget me, I'm just some guy that's elected to run a local union. I'm not the union. The union is the membership that does the work every single day. To call them bullies, to call them extortionists, to say that they threaten, intimidate everybody with physical violence, and that big labor is this and big labor is that, it clearly tells me they're afraid of working people. And they're afraid of what this tagline is behind us, which is worker power. And it's worker power. It's not intimidation. It's not threats. It's not all these things that are laid out in this document. And we're going to be doing a lot of exercises. I'm glad they sent this out to a degree that we're going to be utilizing this as a way to educate the public a lot better. But they're afraid of worker power. They're afraid of workers getting together collectively, protesting, withholding their labor, and saying, I want a fair share. Because, I have always found that workers are absolutely fair in the end. It's unusual that they're unreasonable. Most of the time, they are very, very reasonable. And shame on any of these elected officials that pride themselves with this platform. It's absolutely disgusting, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, an independent, anything of the sort, to undermine worker power, undermine workers in this way, and to smash them with these narratives is just it's just unacceptable. And so that's enough railing on for me. I'll probably come back to it a little bit more in the end because I got more. It's a civil matter, and that what that means is there was a labor dispute that we were in the middle of, and whenever you hear that, if you want to hear the story, that's right. That employer was on strike, had an obligation to go to civil court. They had an obligation to go to civil court, get an injunction if they didn't like the picketing, that the cops had no right to impose their will and break up a picket line. that the police department is not an extension of that corporation's security. That police department, that was public land that we were on, that was public land that we were picketing, that was our First Amendment right, and anybody who is violating our First Amendment right is going to be held accountable, and that's exactly what I was warning them in that rant that you may hear more of in the future. And so that's my rant on this subject when it comes to the Boeing workers and how it ties to Lisa and Jessica who were in here earlier, and how really how disgusting it is to see these narratives be flipped, and we're supposedly these greedy union bosses and whatever. It talked about the union bosses and their limousines and champagne and all that. First of all, I don't like champagne, number one, and number two, I can't remember the last time I was in a limousine. I think a bunch of us friends had put some money together for us to go to a concert together or something a few years back. It certainly wasn't a limousine provided by the organization. You're right. It wasn't too long ago. It's probably just 3, 4, 5 years. I don't know. Who knows? Thanks for chiming in there, Mark. Anyway, that's my rant for the day, and I appreciate y'all hanging in on it. But the National Right to Work Committee is disgusting. They do nothing but attack unions, and they obviously want people to pay dues, and they're asking, and really most of their funding just comes from corporate America. Anybody who pays money to them is actually minimal compared to how their coffers are filled by corporate interest and all that. So with that, let me move on to some more news. Let's talk about Teamsters 1932 news and some IBT news. The IBT news, UNFI workers vote to join the Teamsters. Nearly 280 warehouse workers in Sarasota have become UNFI's most recent group to join, and they voted overwhelmingly to join Teamsters Local 79 in Florida. UNFI's management shamelessly tried to exploit the chaos and destruction of Hurricane Milton brought by the Sarasota community, and a failed attempt to stop their workers from organizing. And so congratulations to those workers that didn't even let a hurricane get in the way. More power to you. Look forward. Obviously, they're going to be able to get a good contract with UNFI. It's always interesting. We actually struck UNFI and got a contract with them here in Southern California many years ago, and I'm seeing as a company grows, more and more workers go through the same process, and congratulations to them. Also, elected officials call out Amazon for their union busting and misclassification practices. 133 members of the U.S. House of Representatives have signed on to a letter supporting the Amazon Teamsters by demanding information from Amazon CEO Andy Jassy regarding the retail behemoth's unlawful violations of the National Labor Relations Act. And then for 1932 news, I just want to do a quick report. The Chino Valley Fire District Teamsters have ratified their contract. I think it was just yesterday. And then also CNA has been participating in some practice picketing at the ARMC, and Teamsters members of 1932 have been out helping them. Staffing levels, patient safety, higher pay are all at the center of that fight. So congratulations, the support between us and CNA. Maybe we can get CNA on the show. Robert, just letting you know live here, CNA is more than welcome to come on our show and tell their story, and we can, we've always they're an organization that represents county employees at the same hospital that we represent, and if they want to come on our show and talk about their fight, they're more than welcome to, and we'll give them that platform and help them with that platform. And with that, I have my next guest who's patiently sat here and let me rant for the last 30 minutes, who's an avid listener. He's a proud Teamster from Local 630. He is a shop steward in the dairy industry. His name is Carlos Resendez. Why don't you, Carlos, first of all, every time I see you, you always comment on a show, and you're obviously an avid listener of the show, and we really appreciate that. And you're a Teamster, you're a hardworking Teamster, you work in one of these dairy operations. Why don't you tell us about your job and how important is that your job is? Because for people to have safe dairy products, which is what you're at the center of every single day, sometimes it gets taken for granted, all that work that gets done. So why don't you introduce yourself, how long you've been in Teamster, the job that you do, and anything else you'd like to talk about, and obviously how much you love our show.
Well, Randy, man, It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. My name's Carlos Resendez Jr. I'm a rank and file member in good standings and a shop steward out of Teamsters Local 630 in Los Angeles. I've been working at the dairy for 22 years now. And like you mentioned, the service that we bring, and it brought back a memory. During the pandemic, we got really, busy, as most warehouse workers did. We got super busy, backed up with orders, had to work extra hours, extra days to try to catch up. And during the pandemic, I had family members and friends that were calling me, hey, where can I get milk? Where can I get milk? I can't find no milk. And that just, that made me realize how important labor is, and we are as the labor force. And so I had to tell them, you know what, right now we're catering to this customer, go there. And we're sending it out today. So that's really, how you bring that up.
The history of dairy products in the Teamsters obviously goes back to there even being trucks, right?
Mm-hmm.
We worked on the farm. Teamsters worked on the farm. Teamsters, milked the cows. Teamsters, it's still to this day actually do. Obviously handled the pasteurizing, handled the transportation of it, handled delivery. And it went so far as even Teamsters, the old milkman that doesn't really exist anymore, but milk got delivered right to the doorstep in a glass bottle and dropped on your doorstep. And so all these years later, Teamsters are still doing that work. It's just obviously production's done different. So what is your job internally in making sure that they get safe milk or dairy products in the store?
So I work inside the cooler. And my job is to make sure the orders are going out right. I have a specific bid where I might do something different every day, but mostly I'm on the job. It's called the merge, and that's where making sure the orders are going right to each customer, and then it's going to the loaders, and the loaders load them up. But we are tasked to make sure that the code date is right when we pick the orders. And, that's part of our job in the cooler. I've been inside the cooler for, my whole time. I have the opportunity to go inside production, go inside the blow-more areas to make the bottles. And I've done everything in there, in the cooler, every single job I've done it, and, proud of it. We provide a Teamster service, as we say, right? And because of that, our quality is number one. And coming out of our dairy, probably where you buy your milk, I probably sent that order out.
And other Teamsters pasteurized it and handled it and processed it and
absolutely
handled the production of it.
Yeah, and just me being on that job, I've been there 22 years, and I've had.
You don't look old enough to be there 22 years.
I like to tell people I started when I was 15 with a fake ID, but that's not true, though.
You look like it. I wish I looked that young.
Man, you got to take a cocktail of vitamins every day in the morning, man. That's the key.
That's what I keep being told, and for some reason I am terrible at it. Anyway.
Yeah.
And a glass of milk, right?
Yeah, and a glass of milk. Vitamin D, whole milk. It's good for you. I've been, like I said, I've been there 22 years. I've torn my shoulder. I've had to get surgery for my shoulder. I have heel spurs right now on the back of both of my heels that I put in the back of my mind that I don't think about no more. But I can't work on those because the doctor told me it's a year's heal time.
Yeah, it takes a while.
These
are the things that break your body down while you're doing the job.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got my lower back's messed up, but I haven't lost a step. I promise you. You've seen us on the strike line. I ain't lost a step.
Very true. I have seen you on a picket line.
Absolutely. And that's where I first met you out there on the picket line for our Smart and Final brothers in City of Commerce. And
someone just texted me and said all the cooler guys look well preserved because it's cold. because the cold, it's so true. Like if someone who lives in Alaska or colder climates, they're well preserved. Thank you for giving me some help there. So that's what it is. That's your trick.
Well,
being in the cold environment.
Maybe it's 30, 35 degrees in there. I also worked inside the freezer also. When I worked in the freezer for 2 years, and that's negative 20. So, and you can only work inside the freezer for 45 minutes at that time. I don't know what is the regulations now or the laws now, or if it changed at all. But when I was in the freezer, we had to take a break every 45 minutes, 15 minutes on the dot, and then come back in, because right about 35 minutes, you start growing icicles on your mustache. You can't open your eyes.
Yeah, the ice boogers, as they call them.
Ice boogers, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was negative 20 in there, bro. But, it was fun. I liked it. I've always been a warehouseman my whole life. But, yeah, I've worked in there also. Maybe it is. I don't know. I like to tell people I've been 30 years old for 10 years.
So let's shift gears a bit here, Carlos. How does you heard me kind of ranting on to these things that are being sent to people's houses, and big labor being called all these names by some of these elected officials or these organizations that claim elected officials support them. How does that make you feel when you hear these things or you read these things? I'm obviously not making this up. This is something that literally got mailed out. Obviously, you could see here where we actually whited out the name. But the point is in the address. So this is nothing we made up. All those things that you heard me say, I pulled it off this paper here. How does that make you feel as a proud Teamster and as a hardworking union person who makes sure that safe product gets to the stores? And quite frankly, when we're going through the pandemic and everybody was hiding in their houses, people like you were not. You were obviously having to go to work every day to make sure that people still had food on the table. How does it make you feel to see you get attacked this way?
Well, obviously, they have their own hidden agenda to benefit just them. And I really like how you talk about those things on this show. And like you said, I am an avid listener. I tune in. I don't always catch it live, but I'll catch it the next day. And to me, it's like you're teaching us and you're schooling us about all these things here. And you're teaching us what's really going on. And that's something that they divide us with, right? As the working class, they'll divide us with their rhetoric, their lies, like you said, union thugs and things like that. And it is offensive because I am the working class. I do work with people who every single day we're there pushing our product out, and not just specifically at my barn. Like as you know, I'm very involved with the Amazon action, and I'm also very involved with the Smart and Final action. And I engage with these members at firsthand, and I talk with them. I've been out with our Smart and Final brothers. I've been out there at these hand billing, striking with them. I spend hours with them, volunteering, and to humanize them and hear what they go through by being treated unfairly. And they look at me and they look at me I'm just a shop steward, but they look at me and they ask me questions, and I try to answer them as best as I can. And it's a thing to humanize these guys and really create a bond with these guys. And some of these guys, have created friendship with them, both at the Commerce and also at the Riverside facility for the Smart and Final guys. And I follow these guys online also, and a lot of them have side jobs. It's not just the warehouse, and it shouldn't be that. It should be.
Right. They should only need one job.
You should only need one job, straight up. You should only need one job, especially coming in this country that we live, where everybody should have their fair share, right? So they should only need one job. These guys are selling T-shirt stuff on the side, or pit bullies or Frenchies and things like that. And I see that, and that type of rhetoric that comes out, and I love that you do that, bro. Every single episode, I learn something, and it's just, and then I take it back and I spread it with the members. That's part of us being in the union. Spread the knowledge, and I really appreciate that from you and also our leader, all the rest of our leaders, that You school us, we take this information back, spread the knowledge to the membership, and say, hey, this is what's really going on. This is what they're not telling us. This is what they're not showing on the news. That's why a lot of people tune in to your show. And then the reason why I believe that it's being so big and successful is because you're not kicking lies. You're telling the truth. You know what I mean? And, you know, and people like me and other activists and other shop stewards out there, we use that as energy and to empower the Smart Final guys and to empower the Amazon working guys out there. So yeah, I really appreciate that, man. Yeah, but all that rhetoric.
So you're not an extortionist? You're not a union thug?
No,
Like,
I'm not a union
yeah,
thug.
like, crazy.
I'm not a union thug. We're elected to.
You're taking millions of dollars from all these people, and
where?
I know that's exactly what I say. And
where? I work 6 days a week.
Did you get? Have you had champagne and limousines here
Man,
recently?
I wish.
It's like, oh my god!
I work 6 days a week, 60 hours a week, man, and then, yeah, where am I getting that? I haven't had a glass
And
of
actually,
champagne.
let's correct the record here. Let's correct the record. Champagne, if I remember correctly, champagne's actually cheaper than beer now. Like, there's a lot of cases that champagne is less expensive. At least when I see it in the store, I look and I see, a bottle of Cold Duck or whatever, because it's Cold Duck, right? That's champagne. Is that a good champagne? See, obviously you can tell. I don't
know.
You're a beer drinker, right?
It's a Modelo, bro.
Yeah, see. Modelo's the champagne of beer is Miller High Life, right?
Yeah, that's good too.
Yeah, and that's a union. That's a union beer, Teamster beer. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. You were telling about how great the show was. Why did I interrupt you? What was your favorite show out of all these shows? Is there anything any one show that sticks out to you that you had a good time listening to?
The one that was really impactful for me was when you talked about the roots of the right to work.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't know that. I didn't know the roots of it.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. And then not just that you talked about it, but those are touchy subjects, right? It's a touchy thing to talk about, And but the roots.
Yeah,
of
we
the
can't
right to
hide
work-
from it. You got to hit it head on.
Right, straight up. And that was really like, wow, I couldn't believe that. That's really the roots of it, That one that was impactful for me.
Yeah, I'd love to have this Right to Work committee come on here and tell me I'm wrong about the roots of Right to Work. Issue a challenge to this. Who is he? Mark Mix or something? He's the chair. Yeah, Mark Mix is the president of the National Right to Work Committee. Hey, buddy, why don't you come on my show and tell me that the origins of Right to Work is not actually racist, that it wasn't actually started to divide workers based on whether they were black or white, and actually agitating workers into a space to say, in the South, you shouldn't be forced to be part of a union that allows black people to participate in it. Because that is literally what William Ruggles and them did to agitate the space of right to work. I would love for this guy to come on and tell me that what I'm saying is not true.
Pull
That
up.
It's a lie, right? Yeah, you can pull it up. You can research it. It's all there. It's all. I'm not going to say everything on Google is true. You obviously have to do some research. But we researched the living daylights out of this before we put anything out officially on it. And so what else about the roots, the ugly truth, and the roots of right to work? What else stood out to you in that show as a union member? Obviously, learning something new that you didn't know before. What else really stuck out to you?
I think I don't know if you said it specifically on that show, but part of it was that years ago they used to before with the rights to work, they used to have their general meetings racially segregated. So their meetings were the whites in this building and the blacks in this building. And that all ties in with our rights, right? So how it used to be before.
Yeah, Right to Work and those individuals that were behind it fought desegregation, and it was part of a coalition of the Birch Society. Was actually, this is well researched, well documented. The Birch Society fought desegregation. What obviously in the 50s and 60s. There was a movement, the civil rights movement said, hey, it's not fair for there to be a white bathroom and a black bathroom, a white faucet and a black, what one's whites only. Like, yes, there was a time that happened, and clearly the quality of those bathrooms were worse. In many cases, they just weren't even allowed in. Like, the Right to Work Committee supported that. Literally said that was all. That is exactly how they got their start, and they supported it. It passed right to work laws in multiple states based on that information. Based on that platform. And to me, it's just shocking. It's just shocking, some of these ugly things that have happened in our history. And I'll take it a step further. I'll take it a step back further. The formation of this country in 1776 was formed based on owning labor. And it was okay for landowners. It was okay for industrialists. It was okay for the wealthy to own people, and slavery was okay. It took almost 100 years to break that. Clearly, equality wasn't solved in the Civil War, but coming out of 1865, it then took another 80 years to start to get some equality, and then the Civil Rights Movement didn't really set in until the 1950s. So you're talking almost 200 years, 180 years of a government, of corporate law that was completely written around owning labor. And I think it's important. I think it's really important to remember that, because the rules were written to favor that system, and so labor, being workers, have still not completely fundamentally broken those chains, or figuratively. So obviously that was compelling to you.
Yeah, I think also being involved and also being in the union and being a Teamster, talking to our brothers and sisters out there, being a Teamster, you need to know our history. You need to know our history, our foundation, what it is that we represent at our core, right? Like, everybody should know about T.A. Stour. The 1903, how he brought together the relations. Everybody should know about that. You should be googling it up and learning about.
Yeah, we should do a show on that.
Learning about our history, our core history. We're all inclusive, all races, all nationalities. We're all inclusive, and that's how we really come together to, as a union, to fight for our rights and what we deserve at our workplace.
Yeah, Mark pointed out, Hidden Figures, the movie Hidden Figures, great movie, obviously touches on a lot of these subjects. And interestingly enough, if you look back, there's a lot of movies or points in history that kind of tried to remind us of these things, right? Whether or not systemically we adopted them or recognized them or put them into our social fabric is another subject. And heck, some people, it seems to, they seem to want to still be in that space. I'll give you an example. I'll say it right here. Anybody listening to this show that has a Confederate flag hanging on their at their house or whatever, and they think it's funny, you're wrong. Straight up, you're wrong, because it's to this point that we're talking about right now. The South lost. Period. This isn't a political issue. This was a human rights issue, and that war was over whether or not to own people or not, and that it goes to the roots of labor's struggle and thinking it's okay to have a Confederate. Yeah, you live in America where you have your freedom of speech. And you're right. You have the right to do that, and you have the right to look like a racist. You actually have the right to look like an ignorant person who, and if you're listening to this show and you think that I'm wrong, feel free to turn it right off, because the reality is it's time that we really started to put our foot down and get people to realize that whole fight was over labor. and it was over a human right, and that it was not okay to continue to do that, and that for people 100 years later or 150 years later to try to spin these things politically in different ways is kind of disgusting, wouldn't you? That's kind of like, that's why we're bringing this up, because it's really entwined into what labor fights for every day within our community.
Yeah.
Carlos?
Absolutely. It's like I mentioned, that the top, 1% and the corporations, CEOs, they divide us. Yeah. And it's up to us to be informed and know the truth and come together for what we rightfully deserve and fair day's pay.
You can go back our entire 248 years of history, and in every clash between races, there has been some exploitation of labor behind it. There's been some corporation that has gotten us to fight with each other, landowner, industrialist, a tycoon. You can go back beyond 250 years. You can get into thousands of years. You can get into kingdoms, right? You get into these individuals that ran these societies. They pillaged, they take over a country, take their resources, enslave the people, enslave them so that they would have, again, cheap labor. It's happened over and over and over and over again. So it's clear and obvious. We shouldn't be ignoring it, especially in 2024. We should understand it to a degree where we don't get pulled in to this, I guess, in a political way, and we end up missing the point, because corporate America, or some king or somebody who has immense wealth, however you want to characterize that, is always trying to exploit that fight. Most of the time, provoking that fight for us to fight over some crumbs while they're running out the back door with all the big dollars.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, anything you want to, any funny stories you got? I mean, you got to be clean,
Well, as a warehouse man, I got a ton of funny
I
stories.
know,
but I don't know if I can.
You got to be careful what you say. It is
I
radio.
know it.
It
I
is
know it.
recorded too, so.
Yeah.
Mark's got his finger hovering over the button over there.
See, funny story, man.
Being a warehouseman myself, obviously came out of a warehouse. We had a good time. I had a good time in the warehouse. We did a lot of fun stuff. Did a lot of stuff probably could have gotten in trouble for. But we definitely made it, the camaraderie of the group, the creativity of some of the things. Yeah, you're chuckling here. The creativity. I guess we could have those conversations in the green room, maybe not on live on the air. Anything you want to say before we wrap up as we come to the close of the show?
Yeah, man. I just want to, specifically speaking to our Teamster brothers out there,
and sisters,
and yeah, brothers and sisters. I just want to, you guys go to your membership meeting. These things that Randy talks about, a lot of them are spoken at membership meetings, also general membership meetings. It's only once a month, 2 hours of your time or so. At 6:30, we always have a steward meeting prior, and that's how I learned a lot of my things, a lot of the truth at our steward meetings before the general meeting. And I really want to give it up to our leadership at 6:30, Louisville, Vaso, Franco Foa. Everybody there has played a key role in the Teamster that I am today, and also every Teamster that I've engaged with, as what is yourself, Randy. Your show is very impactful. If people out there want to get more engaged or become, you want to take part of this labor movement, let's say for the Amazon, reach out to us, activists, stewards. Reach out to me or reach out.
What's your social media handle, or how can people reach out to you?
Okay, my social media. Well, so my name's Carlos, and I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So my social media is Steeler Los on IG, and it is private. So any Union Busters out there listening, I will vet you.
I will vet you.
I will vet you. I will check you out first. But yeah, man, I just really want to give it up to. I'm having a great time doing this. When we went out there at that strike line, and we're I'm gonna call you Mr. It's a civil matter.
Mr. It's yeah, Carlos got to see me in a very excited state.
It's great. What a great day. Yeah. What a better time. What a better time than to spend our Sunday on the strike line. Let's go.
Yeah, and Lou was with you. It was great to see Lou out there. Like you said, you got great leadership with Lou and Frank. Shout out to them. Local 630, you guys do a great job. Really appreciate all the work that you do and appreciate you coming on. Also, I think the most important thing we should appreciate with you, Carlos, is that you're active. You're everywhere. You're participating. You're helping out. And that's what makes a union strong, is that activism. You participating in this process where you help out on a picket line. You're knocking on doors. Every time I turn around, I see you in some sort of space, and that's great. That's what makes the union movement powerful. And as we wrap up this show, I just really want to remind everybody, we're building worker power. And the way we're building worker power in the Inland Empire is we're building this message. As you heard earlier on the show, workers that are on strike, we're just trying to use this platform to share a positive message about unions, about how impactful they are on the community. As you heard here with the National Right to Work Committee and the narrative in which keeps getting said about unions, your union, what is creating a good economic balance in a community is unacceptable, and it's time we have a platform where we push back on it. That's what we're doing here. We're building worker power in the IE, and one of the ways we're doing it is we're talking to our friends, and we're talking to our family, and we're talking to our neighbors, and we're encouraging them to build worker power, and we're explaining to them, hey, if you organize a union, you can have the same thing. You can build a union in your workplace and make this organization grow, make the union movement grow, and the more workers that are in this space where they're building worker power, the more workers are going to have a piece of that 1%. And it's time that it gets shared and more workers have it. And so this is Randy Corrigan and the Worker Power Hour. This is the Teamsters 1932 Radio Network. Long-time organizer, first-time radio host. Signing off with my favorite song, my favorite band. Thank you, Mark. Thanks for listening.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Just 6 days remain until Election Day as the candidates campaign in battleground states. Vice President Harris is heading to Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. After she spoke in North Carolina, former President Trump also spoke in North Carolina and is now set to hold a rally in Green Bay, Wisconsin. The White House is looking to clarify a comment made by President Biden Tuesday where he appeared to call Trump supporters garbage. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
So he was regarding to the comedian, and I quote, "I referred to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump's supporter at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage."
During a call on Latino voter outreach, Biden referred to comedian Tony Hinchcliffe's joke that called Puerto Rico being a floating island of garbage by saying the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. I'm Brian Shook.
This is KCAA.
Anthony Volpe with a grand slam in the third. Yankees took down the Dodgers to force a Game 5 tonight in New York. Juan Soto said they need to take things one game at a time.
At the end of the day, we're not trying to come back from 3-0. We try to win every day. That's the mindset. We try to go 1-0 every day, and that's what we're trying to do here and see what's going to happen at the end of the day.
Dodgers' Freddie Freeman hit a 2-run homer in the first, becoming the first player to homer in 6 straight World Series games. The White Sox, who broke the modern-day record for losses with 121 this season, hired Rangers assistant Will Venable as their new manager. Texans will be without Stephon Diggs for the rest of the season due to a torn ACL. The Colts are benching Anthony Richardson in favor of Joe Flacco for Sunday night's road game against the Vikings. The Ravens acquired receiver Deontay Johnson and a 6th-round pick from the Panthers for a